So good evening. Welcome to the Winthrop School Committee meeting Monday, September 19th, 2016 in the auditorium of the Winthrop High School at 6 p.m. Ms. Hames, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Vecchia?
Present.
Mr. Capabianco?
Present.
Mr. Holden?
Yes.
Ms. Callis?
Present.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mr. Perrin?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan?
Present. This meeting will be recorded and not televised live tonight. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First on our agenda, we have public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? No public comment. Next, delegates and visitors, which I believe we don't have any delegates and visitors tonight, Mr.
We do not.
Same goes for correspondence. We did not receive correspondence this last 2 weeks. And the minutes from August 29th, 2016 are in our packet for review. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mr. Vecchia. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Driscoll. Any discussion on the minutes of August 29th? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Motion passes. Next, we have under financial business, we have warrant SVW17-4 in the amount of $261,100.22. We're going to take the warrant separate tonight. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Vecchia, thank you. I'll second that. Is there any discussion on that warrant? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Unanimously passes. We have a payroll warrant dated July 27th, 2016 in the amount of $360.08. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
So moved.
Teacher.
By President Driscoll. Mr. Vecchia, would you like to second that?
Sure.
Sure. And is there any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Least expensive payroll you'll ever see on that one.
That's why I made the motion.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Payroll warrant dated July 27th, 2016 in the amount of $159,125.44. I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Vecchia. All in favor say, any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. And then our budget transfer requests. We have one submitted by Principal Matthew Crombie, transferring $2,500 from the custodial budget to custodial supplies. That seems like it's in the same department. Mr. Curley has a transfer request for supplies as well under custodial supplies. Mr. Harity has some professional development decrease in his budget to go towards a math tutor, $2,500. So we have 3 budget transfers tonight. Is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to take the one from the professional development to the math tutor separately.
Let's, okay. So I will make a motion to approve the first 2, which are the custodial supplies from Mr. Crombie and Mr. Curley. Is there a motion to approve those 2? I'll make a motion to approve both of those. We need a second, then we can discuss.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Callis. Is there a discussion, Mr. Superintendent?
So just to bring you up to speed, what occurred was that Mr. Leary, the senior custodian, had wanted to purchase $24,000 worth of supplies for this building, but only had $19,000 currently left in the supply account. In the maintenance agreement accounts, we have over $27,000 in there, and so it was requested that they transfer $5,000 each out of those, because the maintenance shouldn't, with this new school and all the new warranties for this year, that should be a little, we shouldn't need that as much. So they're transferring it to put more money into the supply account. And so that's why you see both schools doing 5,000, which would leave him about close to 5,000 to 6,000 in the supply account for now.
For the rest of this year. Is there any other discussion on that budget
Right, and if he
transfer?
needs more, he's gonna have to request more transfer on.
Yes, Mr. Holden?
Rich Trifuni, how does he fit into looking over the budgets and maintaining budgets? I mean,
Well, Rich,
I don't want a position come March saying,
right,
need $25,000 worth of supplies, and, because we spent it all in September. Is that part of his
it is part,
responsibilities?
he is the facilities director, so he does work with the custodians on that. However, in fairness to Rich, in the past, it's always kind of been approved through the principal and gone through the senior custodian, and this year is the first time we're shifting that towards them. But we do get, when it becomes the building, the principal has to sign off on it. So technically, under our budgets, we don't have a centralized maintenance accounts. We have them by school, so we have to let the principals approve it. However, moving forward, we want to have a centralized maintenance agreement kind of stuff so that Rich Safuni would have more say on how that's spent.
Yeah, and we're down to 3 buildings.
Correct, correct. So that's the way we're looking. And right now, one of the other things that we're dealing with at the high school, middle school is that even though we're in 3 buildings, the high school, middle school is conceived, the middle school is a separate under the Department of Ed, and the high school is separate under the Department of Ed. And so when they go to do the end of the year reports, they want to know how much supplies you purchased for the middle school and how much supplies you purchased for the high school. So we still have to isolate them as best we can. And Ms. Eccles met with the principals last week and went through that plan to make sure that it was done correctly on that. So that's why we're following it to a T.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passes. Thank you. And as requested, we'll address this next budget transfer, professional development, decreasing that budget from the Cummings School 2,500 and putting it towards a math tutor at Cummings for the same amount. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mr. Vecchia, I will second. Is there discussion on the motion?
I just,
Tell us.
yeah, I would like to hear.
Sure.
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Superintendent.
so currently we had 2,500 budgeted for a math tutor position at the Arthur T. Cummings. Mr. Herity contacted me last week. The person that he was going to have do the position wasn't able to continue on with her hours and stuff. So he was able to bring somebody else in, and then he looked at it and reviewed and said, I could get us, if I could do 2 hours a day, he increased the services of what he was going to do for the math tutor. It would cost him $5,000 for the year. And so he said, if I take $2,500 out of my PD, that'll give me, I'll double my math tutor services for the year to go to $5,000. And so that's where he came up with the $2,500 to move on that. It won't hurt us. We have $7,500 in general professional development, but each school also receives Title I professional development monies. And the Title I professional development monies can go up to $80,000 that we have, because that's 20% of the Title I funds that we have to use. So Mr. Herity felt comfortable in knowing that he had enough monies that he's already budgeted and planned for his professional development throughout the year in regards to Title I services, that he could release this $2,500 towards having additional math tutor services.
Okay,
So that's why he did it.
okay.
That's why he's requesting it.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for your explanation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. We're now on to buildings and grounds. We have some buildings and grounds requests.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
on the buildings and grounds request, just so that you know, Parks and Recreations has been withdrawn.
Okay. So the third, the basketball on our agenda is taken off for now. So it looks like we have the class of 2017 on September 24th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. They would like to use the Arthur T. Cummings driveway for a car wash. They have submitted a check for that. the Winthrop High School girls basketball on October 1st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'd like to use the Arthur T. Cummings driveway for a car wash. And that will come out of the payment will come out of the business account. And that's all set on your end, Patty, right? Yes. Okay, so they both came with appropriate payment. I'll make a motion to approve them both together. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Callis. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passes. Thank you. And next we have curriculum. Mr. Superintendent, do we have a curriculum update?
I do. You did put into your packet a couple of changes within that. But first of all, I'd just like to read some notes on that.
Yes.
Mr. Woods will begin to meet with all high school lead teachers to discuss develop a curriculum replacement plan for all departments based on department needs, current status of curriculum materials, and changes to be overarching curriculum standards, Common Core, not 2106, 2016 science standards for each subject. They have a tentative plan created by the curriculum director that will act as a starting point for the department discussions. This plan will be presented at a later Winthrop School Committee. The high school science department, led by the efforts of lead teacher Alyssa Dagnont, has secured the following pilot programs for the 2016-17 school year. AP Chemistry, Pearson's has agreed to send us 6 classroom copies of the AP Chemistry text written by Tro. The title of the books is A Molecule Approach, 4th edition. They have also given us a full year of online textbooks and access to the amazing online assessments resource, Mastering Chemistry, for all of our AP Chemistry students. AP Biology, instead of has agreed, they may agree. We're still in the next 2, it's may agree. We're still working with them to include the same pilot programs for Mastering Biology and for Mastering Physics. We think this is a wonderful opportunity for our AP students and a great way to test our new digital environment to see what works best for the future. So those are items that we are currently working with Pearson. And I would give some good kudos to Ms. Dagnont, who's been bringing this stuff as well to our attention.
I just wanted to ask you, are these programs and textbooks that she's familiar with from her
Yes.
past positions and that she's bringing here to Winthrop High School?
I believe so. Plus, we sent her to the AP program over in this year up in St. John's in Vermont, and a lot of this is stuff that she's coming back with as
she's
well
very
for the AP
comfortable with it.
program and the lead.
Good.
Yes.
Is that it for curriculum?
That's it.
Okay. Any questions for Mrs.
Well, actually,
Superintendent?
on one other thing on the curriculum, just so that you're aware, I'm waiting for the embargo to be lifted from the state, and then we can begin to present to you the results of the past park exam. I had that in the superintendent's report later, but it's under curriculum on that. I will tell you that we have moved the scores in the right direction, so I'm looking forward to going through that as we move forward on those. But I don't want to get into discussions yet because of the embargo by the DESE.
Do you have an estimate of when you'll be presenting
I think it's supposed to be
those?
over by the end of September, so we
Okay.
should probably, by
Early
October 3rd, we should have that on the agenda and be able to talk to you. I'll be able to give you data through all the buildings, and then I think it best, once again, to bring in our principals from the buildings and just, review some of the great work. But I will tell you from the meeting with the staff and looking at the data, we saw some great work during a difficult time of 2 years of being in a transition, but I think we utilized that time to our advantage, and you'll see that by looking at some of the results.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to head right into personnel, superintendent's report?
Oh, I go into
Sorry.
superintendent's report. So first of all, I just wanted to give you an update on the new school progress. We are down to about 125 to 150 punch list items. That may seem like a lot, but compared to at the beginning of the year, we were at about 350. Those punch list items can range from anywhere from a little dent in a piece of floor to a paint position to something that still has a major impact that needs to happen. The school building committee does not just all of a sudden go away now that the building's here. We will begin an audit process with the Massachusetts School Building Authority, and the school building will stay in as a group until that process has been completed and this building no longer is in any need of punch list or issues like that. So just so that you're aware, just a reminder, reminder that this Thursday night is the night that we will be doing a town-wide tour for the Winthrop High School, Middle School. So I invite the community to come out. And a lot of people from the community have been asking when they could come through the building. Those tours will be from 5 to about 6:30, because at 7 o'clock, we're gonna be in the auditorium, and we will have a dedication ceremony of this building. We have VIP guests that will be here, the state treasurer, the executive director from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, Speaker of the House, our state senator, also the Secretary of Education, as well as school committee, town council, and previous folks that have had a say in what's happened. And most importantly, our school building committee will be here as well. That'll be at 7 o'clock, and that should probably run about, no longer than about 30 minutes, but it'll be a great festival night of something that this community, I believe, is very proud of. And the more people that come in, they like to take a moment too, because it's been a 5-year project, in the sense of, once we got the ball going on the feasibility study, once they allowed us to take the middle school and the high school and put it together, that's when I started the clock. However, this clock goes all the way back to, I'd say, 2007, 2008, where Mr. Holden was on the school committee then. So there was, and that was just getting the statement of interest. So it's taken some time, and there's been lots of people that have been part of this process. So I believe you will all be there, and I look forward to it on Thursday evening. So what comes with the new buildings also comes different types of issues. We've been working on class scheduling. We've been working on updating some of those. Some of our class sizes were extremely high that Mr. Crombie has now worked with guidance and other areas to reduce those classes. There was some concern at some points that there weren't enough chairs in some of the classrooms. Our enrollment this year for the high school alone is at 586 students, which is a much bigger increase than it has been in the past. And the middle school enrollment is 465 students. So, but the middle school is only 3 grades, the high school is 4 grades. And our high school sizes, our average class sizes of the high school now are becoming about 140 and above. Whereas in the past, they used to be less than, they could have been around 100 or 110. So we're seeing that happening here. And, our argument, of course, has always been with MSBA was that, they said, well, we'll build you a building for 970 students. We obviously have built for bigger, but they only reimbursed us up to 970 students. And that's important. There's a differentiation there, so people understand that. But we are currently working, Mr. Crombie's been working on making sure the classes are evened out. And today is day 10. We've already completed 10 days of school, believe it or not. And it's moving along very well. Also, there are some, the class sizes, for the most part, at the middle school level are very good, because you have 8 in the in the 7th grade and the 8th grade, and in the 6th grade you have 6, but that was a smaller class. The 4th and 5th grade seem to be fine. 3rd grade, the class sizes are a little larger, because we only had 6 teachers at that point, and that was a time frame where they chose to they wanted to have more push-in. But I am working with Mr. Herity right now to see what we can do with any additional funds that we may have to give some more support added into the 3rd grade on that area. At the lower level, at the K through 2 class, those class sizes are fine. They all have 7. They're averaging about 21 to 22 students at the 1st and 2nd grade. And at kindergarten, I believe we're under 20. We're about 18 students. And you all know at kindergarten we have 2 folks in there. So, as I said, we will have much more data that will be coming down for you at the next meeting when DESE allows us to release those funds. The school. So tonight, I have you see Frank, who is sitting over here in the first row. Frank works with us from Winthrop, and he works in Chelsea. And basically, Frank's primary focus is on making sure that our efficiency, all our buildings are in good efficiency. We're using that well, and we're not wasting any cost through that. And Frank has done a wonderful job since joining us. But the reason I bring Frank up is because at the next meeting, we'd like to have a presentation through Mr. Perez and Frank in regards to solar panels and stuff that could come to our buildings, as well as some of the stuff, the efficiencies that we need, that we can do, that will help reduce, I'm not so much sure cost, but will reduce wear and tear.
A little bit of cost, a little bit of wear and tear, and obviously with anything like this, there are some startup costs, but we're eligible to receive some rebates
Right.
from the utility companies. So rebates and the energy savings end up paying for the program very quickly, but it's just a matter of getting the initial funding in place.
So what I'd like to do at the next meeting, if possible, is have, as the delegate and visitor, we can have
Sure.
that speak. Frank, I'm sorry, I forget Frank's last name offhand. Nitty, that's it, Frank. Yes.
Should we have Mr. Safuni at that meeting as well?
Sure.
Or someone representing that area, or? The
Yes, we can,
buildings?
we
Yeah.
can have that as well. But we also have, I've met with Mr. Safuni, Mr. Perez, Mr. Nitty.
Okay.
We've gone through some of these expenses, and we've agreed on some of them already that we were doing moving forward. This comes from that green,
Yep,
Communities.
grant.
right, the
Yeah.
grant from the Greens community. And so,
It's
but
exciting.
one of the things that sometimes happen on those things is that you'll get a savings up front, but then there are certain costs too that go into
Right.
it.
So we need to look at the big picture.
Correct, correct. So, that's what I have under superintendents right now. If there's any other
Any
questions on
questions
that.
for Mr. Macero? Yep. Mr. Sullivan?
Just if you can look into just Naviance. We started working on the whole college stuff with some seniors, and they said, oh, we have to go through guidance with Naviance. So I just want to make sure guidance is set up, they have what they need, and they're ready to roll, or I just don't want
So-
to, because now we have all seniors.
Right.
And
So
everything
guidance-
seems to be going through Naviance.
So guidance does have what they need. Last week, Mr. Crombie did send them back over to Saugus, the three guidance counselors, as well as Ms. Baidmine, to review again what those, how it all should work. The seniors should be utilizing the Naviance so that they can do their letters and recommendation. Everything should go through this program. We have been working with Geo, who's our tech person, to make sure that everybody has their accounts, and parents should be well aware, and passwords and all of that. So I will verify again from Mr. Crombie on that. But one other thing that I did need to, if you're all set with that.
Just two questions on it.
Yeah.
Does it have to, everything have to go through Naviance? My concern is if something fails in Naviance, seniors are not moving forward with college. And I just
Right.
want to make sure that, I don't want them to say, well, we have to go through Naviance, but it's not working. And it kind of, you
Correct.
see the predicaments putting
Right,
everyone in.
right.
So I want to make sure that's not the situation.
Because right now, they're using My College. They've had the option to use where everything goes in their My College. Because I know when I write a recommendation, I go into their college options that they have on that computer. We will make sure that everything is
And not
completed
quite-
properly for each student to get.
And I'm not quite sure if
college.
every student and parent has passwords yet.
They
That's-
should from-
But if you just verify
Right.
it, that's all.
But you have a password, correct?
I don't think I do.
All right, so we'll better check on that. Okay. The other thing is the Chromebooks for the high school level, just so that everybody knows, the Chromebooks will be distributed this week to grades 10, 11, and 12. The reason we're not distributing them to grade 9 as of this week is because of what I just informed you, is that we have 586 students. And so the school building committee bought 500 Chromebooks for Winthrop High School. And so we need to buy another additional 100 for those, and we are in the process of working on that. And I will also be asking SBAC if they will sponsor that additional 100 on next Monday night. But if not, I've been working within our budget too to try to make sure, because we said we were going to one-on-one, and we need to make sure that that happens. But I wanted people to know that 10, 11, and 12 will be receiving their Chromebooks this week. And then also on Wednesday, Winthrop High School will have its first advisory block, where week 1 of the OLIUS curriculum will be rolled out. And the Olivaeus curriculum was a curriculum that was near and dear to Ms. Sharkey's heart, that we went through the curriculum subcommittee. And last year, we did a lot of training on that through our teachers and staff. And now this year, we're going to be putting that program into effect, which is a real good advisory type of program for student issues at their levels.
I just want to go back to the Chromebooks. That's going to replace the iPads?
Yes.
And we're going to push the iPads down to the lower
Yes,
grades?
so the iPads have been pushed down to the lower grades, and those will be starting to be they'll start to roll out now with the kindergarten and first grade and second grade school. We have used some iPads, we have kept some iPads up here for particular students who it benefits greatly, but we do have those and they will roll out.
And the Chromebooks, we have the technology to really utilize them. I mean, I wasn't happy with the iPad rollout. I just want to make sure
Right.
with the Chromebooks that they're interacting with the teacher, the classroom, and
We have,
the
well,
homework.
everything is Google, we're all Google account now.
So it should.
And the interface with the boards, the clear touch boards, all interface with the Chromebooks as well. And so that's the important part of it. We've had training. Last year, we had the staff working on those clear touch, and we had folks working, and most of the students that are at the middle school level were all doing Chromebooks that are now at the middle school level, and some students that are coming up to the 9th grade level. But it's much easier with the Chrome account, the Google accounts, and all of that. So we believe that that's the best process to go through that we're doing.
Thank you.
And then, so on that advisory block, it'll be scheduled every other week for 30 minutes, just so that you're aware at the high school that that is happening. So,
Sign up for superintendent's report.
yes,
I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for advocating for our students, not only in the SBAC meetings, I know, Mr. Vecchio, you've attended some as well, but also with the town in terms of the middle school closure and kind of advocating for what the school district requires from all of those transitions, so thank you. And if you want to move on to personnel?
I will. So under personnel, we've had appointments. Anthony I'm sorry, Anthony. Anthony was our star center for the state championship. Thank you.
Lots.
Anthony will be an ESP at Winthrop High School. Barbara Mulvaney, an ESP at Winthrop William P. Gorman. Manny Ribon is a junior custodian at the Winthrop Middle School. And Francis Tarmy, we have hired a crossing guard. So I'm excited that we have a crossing guard on board. Also, just so that you know, our bus monitor issues now. We have a bus monitor in the afternoon, we have a bus monitor in the morning. So that's making progress on that. No resignations, no retirements. And the postings, a lot of these postings happened in the first week when, about 3 weeks ago. But we did post the stipends. You all saw the Winthrop High School stipends that we posted. They're in your packet. These are all the activities that happen after school. And then we've also posted ATC stipends. And in the meantime, we did post an ESP. William P. Gorman had 2 vacancies because we did move some folks around. When we had the ELL teacher who left right before school, our grade 2 teacher moved into an ELL position, and we moved an ESP into the ELL position. So it was a nice little ricochet that happened. And the William P. Gorman and the Winthrop Middle School all also put their stipends out. So, and we had no leave of absence. And that concludes.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we are on to new business. First, under new business, we have the coach evaluations. In our packet, we received the coaching, the head coach evaluations that Mr. Serino has submitted, and they have been accepted by the Winthrop Teachers Association.
That is correct.
And
So
so-
there was no changes from what the packet that was sent to you. He did go through with the union, he met with the union, and they have given him the green light on that as well. So we wanted to make sure that we followed back up on that with you folks.
Mr. Perrin.
How are these going to be used? Is that going to be for renewals, or is that going to be for merit pay? Is there anything that's going to come about with these, or we?
It'll be used for the head coach, so it'll just, it'll be used, it's not used for merit pay, it's just an evaluation tool for the head coach. And then the head coach will do his own evaluations within or her, for her staff. But primarily, it's a tool to utilize for us and for the coach for learning for the future. You know, it's a educational tool.
So we're going to require our principals to review these as they come in, to make determinations as they move forward, whether people are going to stay?
Correct.
Leave, okay.
Yes,
I think this is addressing our lack of documentation in the past.
right,
Any other discussion? We don't have to vote on this, correct?
No.
This has already been,
right.
okay. Any other discussion on the coaching evaluation tool? That's gonna just go in the handbook, correct? The coach's
Yes.
handbook. Okay. Next, we have the Winthrop Public Schools disclaimer, which is just, not just, which is a wording situation that is, this is the second reading tonight.
No, we didn't
Where are
have
we
the
at?
first
We
reading at
didn't have
all,
the first
so,
reading. Oh, it wasn't on the agenda last time?
right, it wasn't
Okay.
on the agenda, so there was, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so there was a proposed change, because the current wording, as you saw, was the top part, which was the Winthrop Public Schools does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, sexual orientation, national origin, age, gender, disability, or homelessness for employment, participation in, admission, access to, or operation and administration of any educational program or activity in the school district. The proposed change was to keep everything that you saw above. However, after gender, we added identity, and that was from the state, to national origin, age, gender identity. In that process, I did receive a email from Ms. Callis asking us if we could also add the term sex to the list. So I thought it would be best tonight if we could just kind of talk about that on where you were looking at it in that particular proposed change.
Well, in the following email forwarded from Ms. Hems, from Mr. Woods, that has sex right before sexual orientation.
Right.
Maybe it just didn't make it into the,
Okay, right, I'm
That
sorry.
version?
So we would put, Winthrop Public Schools does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation. So there would be the added word sex between religion and sexual orientation. Then you would have national origin, age, gender identity, disability, or homelessness for employment, participation in, admission, access to, or operation of the administration or any educational program or activity in the school district. What's important on this is that we need to make sure that these are on all of our documents that we send out, whether it's for job postings, whether it's we send something home. If you'll notice, sometimes you may get emails from us that should be on the bottom of our emails. So we're working on that to make sure we do the right, have the correct wording on that. So the proposed then, Madam Chair, is of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation. We add the word sex there.
Yes.
And then gender, after gender, it's identity.
Great. So are we referring this to policy subcommittee, or are we reading
I think
it?
you could,
Yeah, just
my
move
suggestion
it
is
along.
you could just move it along
Yeah,
and
I
approve
would
it.
agree to that, so unless anyone objects to that. So we'll have our first reading tonight, which is just what Mr. Superintendent said. The proposed change to the header or footer of any policy or document that is generated by the school district is as follows. The Winthrop Public Schools does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, age, gender identity, disability, or homelessness for employment, participation in, admission, access to, or operation and administration of any educational program or activity in the school district. So that is our first reading. We'll have a second reading at the next general meeting, and we'll adopt at that time if that is what everyone agrees on. Next, under new business, we require signatures for the MOA between the SEIU Local 88 and the Winthrop School Committee. This is the agreement that is with our custodian, employees, and maintenance staff that has been agreed upon, and we are signing it at this meeting here tonight. It's already been voted in by the school committee as well as
So this is,
their union.
this is the contract that was approved by the school committee and the custodial agreement, as well as Paul Hodnett and Maria Cooney, when they went through and made sure that this was everything that was agreed upon, and the contract has been updated. So they requested your signatures. As you can see, they've signed it from their end.
Thank you, and that's the original copy that Ms. Hames will secure and put wherever it needs to be after this meeting. Great, okay, so next we have the Miller Field Committee, and it's my understanding that the Miller Field Committee will be generated and made up of a brand-new group of people that will be approved by you, President Driscoll, or appointed by you?
Yes, so I can give you an update on
Sure.
that. We had there was a meeting of the, call it the Committee on Committees. It's a subcommittee of the Town Council. Mr. Macero was there, Mr. Woods was there, I was there, and Jim McKenna. And the purpose of the meeting was really just to have a discussion on what the structure of the Miller Field Committee should be. So there was good discussion, good input on that. It wasn't about choosing individuals, it was just about creating a structure. And so that happened. Tomorrow night, before our meeting, there'll be a subcommittee meeting of the Committee on Committees. I think they'll finalize that plan and make a recommendation to the Town Council. The Town Council will either vote it tomorrow night or maybe refer it to the next meeting. I hope they approve it tomorrow night. After that, then we'll probably, maybe, hopefully by the next meeting, we'll go through a process of appointing people. You know, the committee's going to be smaller than the school building committee. I think the scope of the work is a little different than the school building process. The funding has been already secured from the town, so that whole thing doesn't have to happen. So we're going to try to keep the committee to 9 voting members. I think that's what the current draft says. And then we'll I think we're going to try to have some alternate members as well as some ex officio members. And so that's what it's looking like right now. It could change by tomorrow, but that's basically where we're at right now.
Right. So it was my understanding that one school committee member would be on this Miller Field Committee.
That is, yes.
So I would,
It's definitely something that we want to put in there. And
right.
It's been included in the
Yeah,
draft.
makes sense.
Yeah, so that would, I think,
Right.
makes perfect sense.
So tonight I would recommend Mr. Vecchia to you and the town council to be appointed on the Miller Field Committee. If that is okay with you, Mr. Vecchia?
Yep.
Great.
So we can move that forward. And I think Mr. Vecchia would be an excellent representation to the school committee on that.
Make sure they get my email address.
As long as the committee on committees approves of all this.
Yeah.
Committee swapping. All right. Anything else about that?
I will add one thing, though. Even though the committee is choosing what's going on with that, we're still moving forward on the OPM for this. We've done an RFP. The town manager has given the okay on that. And so, because that takes about 6 weeks for advertising and all of that. We wanted to have everything ready so when this committee is appointed, they can begin selecting that process. So they will select an OPM, then they will select a construction manager, if so be it, the way the committee moves, and the project will begin. So anybody that's saying that this project is being delayed or it's not in session, that's totally false. This project is happening, and it will be completed once it begins. I mean, it's the best way to say it. So,
Thank you for clearing that up. And this is also a completely different budget than the school building.
Correct.
This
correct.
is very different funding. And will be addressed by a different group of people. Thank you. Under unfinished business, we have our field trip a policy that's going to be looked at in the next policy subcommittee, as well as storage of awards and trophies policy, which will be looked at in the next policy subcommittee, which will be scheduled in the near future. Any comments on the unfinished business? Next, we have public comment. Seeing no public comment, we'll go on to public relations. Mr. Becker, can we start with you?
None this evening.
Nothing, Ms. Callis?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Perrin?
Nothing today.
I would like to remind people that the initial, the curriculum night, there's a curriculum night at the Cummings School tomorrow night for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I think there were curriculum nights last week for the Fort Banks.
Yes, there were,
Is that
last
right?
Wednesday and Thursday.
And then, of course, our school event that's happening here Thursday night the tours begin at 5 o'clock, and there'll be a ceremony at 7 p.m., and then I think a reception after. And once again, if parents are looking for ways to be helpful and get involved, the PTO groups are starting up. I got a notice in my daughter's backpack today about the first PTO meeting at Cummings. So if you are looking for a way to get involved and get inside classrooms and help out with activities and events throughout the year, the PTO is certainly the way to go. They do an excellent job organizing and making sure there's something for everyone to volunteer. So there are lots of hands needed during the school year for events and so forth. So if you have time, even if it's just a couple hours a week or a couple hours for the entire year, go to your school PTOs. That's all I would have. Mr. Holden?
I'm good, thank you.
President Driscoll?
No.
Michael? Ms. Superintendent?
I just wanted to make sure that people knew that we had a curriculum night last week. You took care of that. And the middle school curriculum will be, I believe it's next week. So Mr. Curley does a
probably on
good
the
job
website.
of making sure that the phone calls go home on a daily
Yes.
basis. So
And there's probably tons of information on the website, and if you don't know the website, just Google Winthrop Public Schools, and make sure you have Winthrop, Mass., not Winthrop, Maine, and I'm sure there's tons of information there. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Motion by Ms. Callis, and is there a second? Mr. Vecchia, all in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, have a good night.
can you